The last thing you need is another thing to throw in that oven on Thanksgiving Day. That turkey deserves all its time and all its glory. Let's not throw something else in there. Hi, welcome to Meals with Maria. Today I have Thanksgiving in the crock pot. These are appetizers and sides that will take some heat off the oven, let that turkey get all of its glory, and make it things easier for you. We're starting off with the barbecued Little Smokies, and these guys in the crock pot never disappoint. I decided to make this recipe for multiple reasons, but one of them is that I found some of these little tiny hot dogs on sale at Aldi, and I threw them in my freezer a while back, and I figured this was a great opportunity to use them. So when you see that stuff like that on sale, go ahead and grab it, and then you can use it later as an appetizer idea. Or you can even do like the pigs in a blanket if you want to. With this recipe, we're using a half a cup of brown sugar and then a half a cup of ketchup. And we're going to use 1.5 cups of barbecue sauce. This is also a great way to use up the last of that barbecue sauce that you have in those containers. For spices, you want to add a half a teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and then 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. And then add in your package of little tiny hot dogs. You could always use 2 hot dogs in this, 2 packages in this. There's enough sauce in it. I just only had 1. And another good option here is to add sliced kielbasa. So if you have sliced kielbasa, that would also work. And then you just want to cook these on low for at least 2 hours. You can actually cook them a little bit longer if you have the time. Sometimes it actually helps to put things, away, like make sure that you already got it taken care of earlier and just set it and forget it. So this is a great option for that. And these turned out amazing. So these are going to be the perfect appetizer for a Thanksgiving or any holiday meal, really. And they are going to impress people. People always love them. They're just like a nice thing. They're easy for picky eaters, right? My kids love them. And it's going to take minimal effort on your part. Next up, I've got an apple pear crisp, which is basically like a pie alternative, and it will really make you happy. This is so delicious. I'm just going to get started by making the topping. So I'm chopping a half a cup of pecans. Just want to place those in a bowl and add 3/4 cup of flour, 3/4 cup of old-fashioned oats, 1/3 cup of light brown sugar, and 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter cut into cubes. And then I'm just going to mix it together to make a crumble topping. So I decided to kind of cut mine in with a pastry cutter, but I did eventually just get in there with my hands because it was a lot easier to do that way. So I think it just depends on what type of thing you're making and when the pastry cutter is going to be the best. I also forgot to add cinnamon to that, so you also want to add a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I did add it later. And then I just want to peel and slice 4 apples and 4 pears. I'm adding those right to the bottom of my crock pot. And to those, you want to add 1/3 cup of brown sugar, a tablespoon of flour, a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You can do a pinch of nutmeg if you'd like to, and then a tablespoon of lemon juice. You also want to add about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. There is something about the salt and cinnamon when I'm baking. I often forget to add both of those things. And I'm like, why would I do that? Those things are so important. But I do remember to, but it's like after the fact. It's so weird. And then you just want to add that topping right over the top of this. And I did want to share with you guys, unrelated to this, that my Instagram was hacked and I think it's been deleted, unfortunately. So if you can go back over to Instagram and refollow me, my new name is meals.withmaria. So it used to be different, but meals.withmaria. You can find me there. And then when you cook this in the crock pot, you do want to put a paper towel over the top. And I think that helps kind of keep the crumb topping from, getting too soft or something. You want to cook this for about 2 to 3 hours on low or 90 minutes on high. I did mine 90 minutes on high and it was perfect. I feel like it's going to be good when it's bubbling like that. Anything that's bubbling like that, it's going to be delicious. That's my official statement. That is how you know if food is good. And so serve this to the family. But this is going to be a great one for Thanksgiving where you want to do something a little bit different than a pie. And it's also great for like last minute because you can do it 90 minutes. And it's just sitting there on the counter. Obviously, you don't have to be doing anything active. Your non-active cooking only takes 90 minutes, which is great because if you're like cooking a turkey and you're like, oh, the pie, if you don't do the pies ahead of time, if you don't get those done like the night before or in the morning, it's all over. You can't do it. So obviously great with ice cream or whipped cream, but really just a fabulous recipe. Next up is Crockpot loaded potatoes, and we're trying something different here, something kind of outside of the norm of the mashed potato. These are also going to be great for really any holiday meal or just a regular weeknight because they're just delicious. So if you're set on the mashed potatoes, I totally get it, but this is still a great recipe and again, something new to try. So I'm just going to dice up about 2 pounds of yellow potatoes here, but you could also use red potatoes. Both would be really good in this. And then you want to put half of them in the bottom of the crock pot. If you have aluminum foil, you actually want to use that to line the crock pot and then make a packet out of it. And I unfortunately did not, so I just used a crock pot liner, but it still didn't really make the packet, but it turned out fine. So I would be interested to see how good it was if the foil had made like the foil packet in there, but they were still delicious. So I'm not sure what the difference would have been. Then you're going to want a 1/4 cup of green onions or scallions, same thing. And then you're going to want about 8 slices of crispy bacon. So I had just cooked mine up on the side. I usually do the microwave when I'm cooking bacon like this, just for something that's going to be like in something. So I cooked that for 4 minutes for 4 slices. And then I just did another piece with 4 minutes for 4 slices. And then you could also use bacon bits for this. I think that would turn out really, really well. And then if you didn't have scallions, I also think more alternatives, right? More alternatives would be to use sliced red onions. That would also be good in this. So we're just going to take the 4 slices that I sliced up of bacon and put those right over those uncooked potatoes there. Then we're going to add in our scallions, about half of the scallions. I just want to liberally add in some seasoned salt, whatever your favorite is, or whatever you have on hand. And then add 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Then you want to add the remaining potatoes to the crock pot. It's kind of like a nacho setup here. So we're going to have layers, which is so important and why this is so delicious when you do it like this. And then 4 more slices of crumbled bacon, or again, bacon bits. Not quite the rest of the scallions. So you do want to take about a couple tablespoons of those and leave them off to the side. And then you want to add another 1.5 cups of cheddar cheese right over the top. I cooked mine on high for about 3 hours and my potatoes were perfectly done. At that point, I added the rest of the scallions, and I forgot I actually added 1 more slice of crispy bacon kind of over the top. And these were so beautiful, so different and delicious. I think they would be good on any Thanksgiving table. It would certainly wow people with something that is kind of out of the ordinary. Next up are these honey butter thyme glazed carrots, and these are so easy to make, but they are so full of flavor. Going to start with 1.5 pounds of carrots. We're peeling, trimming, and cutting them into quarters and 1.5 inch slices. You want to place that in the crock pot with 4 tablespoons of butter cubed, 4 tablespoons of honey, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of dried thyme. We're going to cook those for 3 hours on high until the carrots are tender. And you can see how well this cooked the carrots. It didn't overcook them. It didn't undercook them. They were perfect. My husband hates like a glazed carrot with like the brown sugar and stuff like that. So I really wanted to go a different route with this. And I was so pleased with how these turned out because they were just enough with that honey, but the thyme and the salt kind of gave it a kind of really balanced it out, so it really wasn't too sweet, and they were really just fantastic. So this is something I will definitely make again, and this is something that would be more than appreciated on your Thanksgiving table. For more Thanksgiving ideas, check out this 4 ingredient or less Thanksgiving and holiday recipes video to keep that inspiration going. Wasted in blue, I was out of use. Now every day, every night, every moment with you, I'm walking on air, and every day